Hey guys, so today we're going to be epoxying some of our butcher block countertops. So this is going to be that front piece right there. And these are going to be like on the sides of the front piece. We're using this super clear epoxy. I'll put the link in the description where we got that. But we're going to start with 1 liter of each. And we're going to hope that this works out because we've never done this before. And not gonna lie, we're both kind of nervous about this, so wish us luck.
Where are the edges?
Yeah, start
With the paintbrush?
I guess. All right, guys, so it's the day after we did epoxy. It is completely dry. As you can see, there's a lot of holes. There's like a dust particle thing. There's a lot of bumps in this. So, I was looking online and I think there was a lot of issues. So first, our epoxy needs to be warmer because it's kind of cold in this building. There was a lot of bubbles. That's why our epoxy was literally white and it should be clear. So I think we need to let it sit after we mix it. I'm gonna also heat it up a little bit using the hair dryer. And we also, like, our torch wasn't really working. So I don't know what it was really doing. So we're gonna do a second coat, but I'm gonna sand this because there's just a lot of like bumps like everywhere on here. So I'm really relieved that it actually is sealed. But obviously I want it to look nicer. So yeah, got some more work to do. These ones, let's see. So this wasn't as thick of a coat. So like that's still just wood right there. So I just need to put a little bit of a thicker coat on it. So yeah, I'll work on that later on. All right, so here's how our epoxy turned out. So as you can see, like right here, there's a lot of like random just spots that are not flat. And unfortunately, like we tried to fix it and we can't. And so this is how it's gonna be. And yeah, definitely not our strong suit, epoxying. So I guess this video is a what not to do when epoxying. And if you are epoxying, just make sure you do more research because it's really harder than we thought it would be. So we still have to epoxy everything else. And I feel like we learned a lot doing this one. We should have started with the back side instead of the front side. But it's honestly not that bad. It's bad when it's like in the light. But when it's not in the light, it's not that bad. See? So now we're putting up the sides. And once those are up, we can go ahead and put all the other butcher blocks on. And then I think this weekend we'll probably do the next coat. This one turned out. And it's kind of dark in here, so it's kind of hard to like tell. But this one is actually really smooth. So we're really happy with how this one came out. Can't really feel any like crazy bumps. So this one is like really good. this side, we're gonna do our second coat today. First coat, it's all right. You can see a lot of little bumps in it. But I think that's normal because that's how that side was looking too. But yeah, you can see like a ton of dents. So hopefully, after we do the second coat on this one, it's gonna flatten out and look good. All right, guys, so after a lot of trials and, what is it called? Trials and tribulations. After a lot of tries, we finally figured out how to epoxy the correct way. So I'm gonna show y'all. We have our last board that we're doing. We already did it. We messed it up, so we're gonna do another coat. So this is gonna be like the third coat on this one, but we're gonna show you guys how to epoxy the correct way, so you don't mess up like we did. So I actually just got new epoxies. So I got new ones, so I'm just gonna use that even though there's still a lid on here. We didn't keep the lid very sealed. So first of all, you're gonna wanna have a scale, and these are gonna be equal parts. So equal parts of the A solution and equal parts of the B solution. So I'm gonna go ahead and open these. You really need to have gloves on while you're doing this stuff. So Evan sanded and now he is wiping everything with alcohol. So you wanna have alcohol. We've been using that a lot. Look how much we used. So first, after you do epoxy, you are pretty much done for the day. Like, you cannot do work around it because we made the mistake of sanding stuff when we did this table, and it was so gritty the next day. So we're gonna do this and then we're gonna just be done. But you're gonna get your cup. Of course, I'm using my Boba buckets. And you want this to say 0. First, we're gonna start with the A, and that's so we don't forget which one we started with. And we're gonna do a lot. So I'm gonna do 300 and see how much that makes me. Because we're gonna do a flood coat, and this is just from trial and error. That's the word I was looking for earlier. We realized we needed a lot more epoxy than what we were actually making. So 300. And then part B, 300. Oh, I did too much. All right. Okay. All right. So we are gonna go ahead and mix this just with a painter's stick. Don't use a mixer because the first time we used a mixer and you saw how white it was. You do not want it to be white. You want it to be clear. So this is what it's gonna look like. You can see the two different like textures. One is like thicker and one is thinner. And so you know it's done when the whole thing is like thin and not cloudy. So this is a heat gun, which is super important. Like, we didn't have this at first. We bought one from Harbor Freight. You need this, okay? You need this. This epoxy needs to be warm, like completely warm to get the best result. So I'm gonna stir this for a little bit and then I'm gonna warm it up. And I'm gonna stir it slowly and like carefully, because if I start going crazy, it's gonna create so many bubbles. So you kind of have to like work slow with it. Make sure you're getting to the bottom of the cup and getting every single little bit, because the epoxy needs to be like completely mixed. All right, so I mixed it a little. It's still super cloudy. It's not ready yet, but I'm gonna give it a little heat. So I put it on low and I'm just gonna like mix it around. Now I'm gonna turn it up a little and I'm gonna heat it around the cup. Something I read online is you can put these into boiling water so it warms up this entire bottle. But I don't have time for that. So it's getting a little bit more clear, but it's still not ready. You'll know when it's ready. So we learned the hard way that you can burn epoxy when it's like on the table and you do it too close too long. And it basically just stiffens up and it's really hard to get off. It becomes like a goo, like a thick goo, and you can't get it off. And so that's the whole reason why we're redoing the other table, because that happened to us. So just be careful with the heat gun. You don't want to go too close for like too long. You want to like spread it out. Also, since we're doing a big table, I'm gonna go ahead and start the second one because this is gonna be a big pour. All right, so we're done mixing. These things, you wanna have these, so it's adhesive spreader with like teeth that are not too long. This is like the perfect size. So Evan's gonna take one, and I'm gonna take one. So we have our heat gun like ready to go. So you're gonna pour your epoxy all over the table and then use the spreader to completely spread the epoxy evenly everywhere. The biggest issue was that we weren't using enough epoxy. That was our number one issue. And so that's why there was a lot of dents and bumps. And so we ended up making another one because the 2 buckets weren't even enough for this table. But we got it spread out pretty good. And Evan went ahead and used the heat gun to even everything out. And then you literally go in and fill each hole with epoxy very slowly. And this is how it turned out. I think this one came out so good. I'm relieved. I'm happy. And this is the final product of what that one looks like. And tomorrow we're going to come in and do these. So we actually put butcher block on the tops. And so we're gonna have to epoxy those because it doesn't match the color of the actual butcher block. I also got some paint. So I got a teal paint and I got the satin. So we'll do that eventually, not today.